Hey friend, how's it going? It's Saturday, December 20th. I wanted to make a quick video to talk to you about the Fibonacci and crypto and whether or not it can be a strategy you could deploy when looking for great opportunities to take trades. So I'm looking at Ethereum right now and I wanted to show you some examples of how it plays out. So I've been trading with the Fibs for so long and I draw them all day, every day, not only when I'm trading with crypto, but when I trade futures. And I just kind of see it when it's playing out, or I just see it without even drawing it out. But let me show you some examples. So I'm on the daily right now with Ethereum, and I want to show you some quick examples of how this plays out. So I'm going to draw a fib from the high to this low, this last high to this last low. This is all just recently. This was from November 8th. Crypto's been dumping for a while, but this was the last low we've had for a while, and we bounced here at 26.15. Here's the last high around November 9th, November 8th. Here's a low from November 21st. And then you can see here, it got up to 3,441 on December 10th. And look where it hit. There's what a lot of people refer to as the golden pocket. I like to call it the golden shower pocket, just messing around, but it's the area between the midline, the 50% line, and the 786. And what you'll find is a lot of bounces and rejections will happen in that area. So here we are, and there it is. 786 rejection. Really, it whipped to the 786, but the body of the candle is pretty much rejected around the 707. You'll probably see the 707 more than anything else. You'll see 618 rejections, but a lot of times it'll go through it. And but here it is. We rejected and we went from 34.38 or whatever, 34.45, 34.48, all the way down here to 27.72. I'm always watching Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. I've been watching a lot of Zcash lately, which is ZEC. So many bounces and rejections off of key levels on the Fibonacci. I'll show you some examples, but I want to show you what I did here with Ethereum in our account. So here's a low. I noticed this happening. Here's a low. Here's the high, right? Let me get rid of this one. Let me get this off the screen. Let me show you what's happening here. So you go from the low to the high, and look what we had here, a 786 bounce. But before that, we were approaching, I already had it drawn out, we were approaching the 707. So I placed an order in MEXC to get filled at 28.57 in that area, because a lot of times, as much as I want the 786, it will bounce off the 707. So we got filled at 28.56. It did bounce a little bit and then it pulled back. I could show you it on a smaller time frame. Here's the shorter time frame. This is the, what is this, the hourly? So here's the last high, here's the low, and then it came back up to around the 786 and rejected, which I didn't want to happen. I was hoping it would keep going up, but it plays out a lot. These Fibonacci retracements for a rejection or a bounce, they play out. So we had the rejection at the 786 here. It came back, actually went lower, and we were down a little bit at that point. We were up like 200 something bucks there. We were down like 150 around here, and then now we're back up. And obviously, you know, it's Saturday. It'll pick up tomorrow as the market's about to reopen. But look, we got filled at the 707. Actually, I had the order below the 707 because another thing I found is it will wick below the 707, but not hit the 786 before it bounces. So that's why I had it below, a little bit below. As you can see here, the 707 is at 28.69. I had it at 28.57, but it ended up going lower anyway. But it's fine because now we came out of it, we bounced, and guess where I have my take profit for this trade? Right at, I'm being conservative, but I have it right around the 618, a little bit higher at $3,197. So in this particular trade, if it's to go up that far, I mean, it could go further. It could pump, like we could pump. But here's the take profit right here. That's a conservative take profit. I guess we'll monitor how it playing out. depending on how bullish we're looking, or how much it looks like it wants to go to the upside. But this could be a big spot for a bounce. Also, because if you look at the weekly, I'll show you. Here's the weekly. If you draw it on the weekly, watch this. Let me get rid of these. Oh, let me show you one other one on the daily before I get to the weekly that I noticed. All right, so look at this. Let me get rid of these. Let me get rid of this one. And let's draw another one. So when we first bounced here on this low, watch this. So here's the low, here's the high. Whoops. And look what happened. We wicked down to the 786 and we bounced. And then we ran from 2720 or so to 3439. I mean, that's 700 divided by 2720. It's 25% pop. Regardless of whether or not you're trading with leverage, it's still a nice gain. Let's say you don't catch all of it, you get 20%. You put you play with $1,000, you make $200. Not a bad trade. It's actually a great trade. Just keep doing that over and over. Just wait. But let me show you on the larger time frame. Let's look at the weekly. So this is where we bounced, right? We could draw it in two places. So I'll draw it from this low right here. Oh, look. Right at the 786. Yeah, we wicked a little bit below it, but then it came and retested, and then it bounced, and I think it's going to go higher. But there it is. I mean, the 786 again. This is on the weekly. If I were to draw this, if I'm to come all the way to this low, it's probably the 618. And there it is. Look, the 618. Now, because of that, we could go lower, but I'm not 100% sure. I have no idea. But it's just funny how that stuff always plays out on these larger time frames. Here's a weekly too. Watch this. With crypto. Low, high. This was the previous all-time high. We just recently, well, not recently, but over the summer, we made a new all-time high, barely, but look where it bounced. So this is like that last low before Ethereum started breaking out. That was in 2020. And look where it bounced, the 786. Only to eventually make new all-time highs. I could draw another fib here. This is on the weekly. So this will happen on the shorter time frames as well. But look, low, this last low here around, I don't know, 1470 or something. It came up here, pulled back, wicked down to the 786 and bounced. It just does it all the time. Stuff like this on the shorter time frames, on the larger time frames. Obviously, with crypto, it's a little different than trading futures. Like with futures, I'm talking about like NASDAQ and gold and all that. You'll see the Fibonacci play out on the minute chart and the 5-minute chart and the 15 and the larger time frames, of course. But with crypto, things just take a little bit more to materialize. So you might want to look on the hourly charts, unless it's some new coin and it's like, or it's some shit coin that's pumping. But there's some good examples. Let me show you Zcash. I want to show you Zcash. It was happening like crazy with Zcash, and it probably still will. But look, I already have it drawn out. So here's his last low. Came back, bounced off the 707. That's on the weekly. Let's go to the daily. I'll show you some more opportunities. Hold on, let me clear all these out. There was a lot of it happening in this area right here. Zcash was chilling in the 50s or 60s, and out of nowhere, it went from that to like $750. So like, here's another example. Even though there's some wicks and it's kind of hard to tell, but let me get all of these out of here. Let me clear all these out. I want to show you. So look, here's a high, here's a low, and then sure we had some wicks, but it pretty much the body of these candles on the daily rejected off the 786. And then if I go to a shorter time frame, whoops. Watch this. We can include the wicks, and then look. I mean, it just was hanging in that area and then rejected. And now I could draw on the daily. I could go by the last low. I think this is what I showed you before. I think this is what we were looking at. But look, from this last low to this high, look where it bounced, right off the 786. And then we could draw it some more. Like, I could do this all day. All day. I could draw these. I could find them. And obviously, In hindsight, it looks like I'm just picking and choosing my spots to make it look good, but you'll see when you keep drawing them if you decide to do that at all. But here's a high. Look at this. Here's a low. Here's a high. Look where we bounced, 786. Let me draw another one. This happens all the time. Here's the last low, for example. Here's the high. It bounced off the 707. And we're talking from 375 to 456. I was actually posting this in a chat that I'm in with a bunch of degenerates that I trade with. My friend, my partner in crime on this channel, Evan, and then his brothers and a couple of other people like our friends. And I posted, I think it was here. I don't know if it was either that one or this one. I don't remember. I think it was this one. Maybe it was this one. I don't remember. But I posted, I shared. I was like, wow, look, it looks like it's about to bounce. And I didn't take the trade, but one of his brothers did and did very well with it. So just something to add to your arsenal of setups that you look for when you're trading with crypto. It does play out. If you're only going to look for this, you got to be patient because it takes a while for the move to actually materialize and for it to come down. Even like right now, it's not a bad spot. I just don't. Crypto looks like it wants to pump, so I'm not really sure what's going to happen here. But look, here's a high, 476. We came down to 371 and bounced. Look where we're at, and it's having a hard time getting over this level since it's 786. But we might go higher. I'm not sure. Also keep in mind on the larger time frame, if I get rid of this, I could just draw these things and talk about them all day. But it's funny how we rejected from here's the high, here's the low. Let me see. That's the low. Look, we just missed hitting the 707 from this last high right here, this wick. Just missed it. But look, the 618 held. You see? You see, guys? You see, guys? So hopefully you learned a little something here. If you got some value out of this, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We post videos like this regularly. We also stream regularly, talking about what we're looking at and what we're trying to trade, what we're in, what we're looking at getting into, what our past trades were, even the red ones, even the losses. We don't hide the losses. We don't only celebrate the wins. We share everything. And this is a very new channel, but you might want to subscribe now so you could say you were part of it since the beginning when this channel is big, because it will be big. I just don't know how big it's going to be, but it will be a lot bigger than what it is right now. So make sure you subscribe. If you got any value out of this, smash the like button. If you want to trade with MEXC and you're in the US, you will need a VPN. So if you want to trade with MEXC, our link's in the description below. If you're in the US and you need a VPN, we have a link to IPVANISH in the description below. That's what we use. So like I said, thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon.